The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. We got one more week of college football that's attached to the regular season. I don't know if you can call it the postseason or the regular season. Regardless, we're going to have the conference championship games this week. And in this week's Good and Ugly of college football, we got quite a few things to talk about as we wind this season down. It's been a hell of a season. My real first football season doing this for you guys and gals, and it's been a hell of a roller coaster ride, I'll tell you. But also, as I've told you before, if you want a hat on the wall, just send it to me. Hit me up on Facebook. I'll give you my address. But I forgot to do something last week. This hat right here, that's right, United States Army hat, was sent to me by Jeff Tidwell. I thank Jeff for that. Put that on my wall up there. Also, the Black Knights are bowl eligible, I think. They won their game this week, so now looks like the Black Knights are going bowling. See, it brought them good luck. So y'all send me a hat, and I'll put it up on the wall and bring good luck. But we're going to talk about Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, the big blowout win over Ohio State. Brian Kelly shit in the bed once again. TCU and Max Duggan continue to go undefeated. Max Duggan for Heisman, maybe. Nick Saban, did he wet his diaper in his press conference? Also, the coaching carousel keeps going round and round. Let's talk about it. Season's winding down. Sort of sad here. But you're also anticipating who's going to be in that college football playoff. Who's going to go where and what bowl games. And then you have that coaching carousel that keeps going round and round. Before we get to all that, though, I'd like to say that I am the OCF. That's the Outlaw of College Football, also known as JPC. That stands for Jesse Paul Clark on Facebook, spelled Jesse without the I. That's right. Also, on Twitter, at OCF Productions. Now, getting right into it here. Going to do us a little good and ugly of college football this week. Is this probably the last one? Well, maybe not, considering we have the but the conference championship games this coming week. The first thing I'd like to talk about is, actually, I'd like to touch on the Oklahoma Sooners. I'd not mentioned that in the lead up, but I've had a lot of people hitting me up in DM and, pretty much pissed off because they lost that game 51-48 to Texas Tech. But if you'll remember back a couple of weeks ago, I said if they could split these two games, I'd be all right with that. Now, as an Oklahoma fan, I know you're not, but as an outsider looking in, it was important to get at least one of those. You did beat your in-state rival, which if it was me, I'd rather beat Oklahoma State than beat Texas Tech. So to me, you got the better of the two wins as far as, state bragging rights. So you can take that to heart, that you are still the state champions. Now, Texas Tech, I knew, was probably going to be a difficult game for Oklahoma. First of all, it's on the road. That's a hard place to play. Lubbock is. It's sort of a weird place out in the middle of nowhere. And to me, Texas Tech was just playing better as a team. Even though they're 6-6 as well, they were playing better as a team than Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's lost like 4 out of their last 5 games now, as they lost last week as well. And Oklahoma got that win. They did almost beat Texas Tech. They almost won that game too. So, yeah, and it was, I'll be honest with you, from what I understand and what I've heard, I haven't really watched the whole game, but I've been told by quite a few people that, once again, the Big 12 referees were out there basically screwing up left and right. But to me, I think, I don't want to sound paranoid, but to me, I think Oklahoma and Texas probably need to go ahead and try, if they can, to get in the SEC as soon as possible. If not by next year, at least by 2024. staying in that conference to 2025 is going to do them no favors, because I do believe that the brass at the Big 12 may have done some winks at the officials and said, hey, don't give them any breaks. You know, they're going to the SEC. They screwed us over. So if I'm Oklahoma and Texas, I try to get out of that conference as soon as possible. Now, getting into the rest of the deal here, Ohio State and Michigan. Now, I would have never expected this. I thought Michigan might have a chance to win the game and maybe Ohio State could blow them out. But actually, it was right the opposite. Not only did Michigan have a chance to win the game, they blew them out in their own home stadium. Now, before this happened, I was of the thinking that the Big Ten, if LSU were to lose, which they did, and not to Georgia, they lost to Texas A&M, probably going to have 4 losses. If Ohio State had kept that game close, I was of the thinking that the Big Ten would probably deserve 2 spots. Now I'm not so sure. Ohio State losing that game in the manner in which they did at home to a backup quarterback makes me think that maybe Ohio State doesn't deserve a shot at the playoffs. That if it comes down to Ohio State and USC, as much as I hate USC, you might have to put USC in over Ohio State, especially if USC runs the gauntlet and wins the Pac-12 conference, albeit that is a pretty weak conference to me. I know that they do have more ranked teams in the top 25, but anything past the top 10 is hit or miss. I mean, you're just ranking teams to be ranking teams at that point, in my opinion. So, does the Big Ten still have a chance? Do they still have a chance at getting 2 teams in? What do you guys and gals think? Drop in the comment section. Let me know. Does the Big Ten still have a chance at maybe getting 2 teams in the playoffs? If USC wins out and who else is it? No, they lost. That's right, LSU lost. So LSU don't have a claim either. But there is that thing there, and it ain't because I'm an Alabama fan. There is some inkling and some rumors. If TCU were to lose, they'd probably drop below Alabama in some thinking. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people saying that, hey, TCU should still be in. But if TCU and USC both lose, USC will definitely be out because they'll have 2 losses in a weaker conference, in my opinion. If Alabama has just 2 losses and USC has 2 losses, Alabama will get in over USC. If Alabama has 2 losses and TCU has 1 loss, that will be the big debate. To me, as an unbiased fan, I'm probably still putting TCU in. Will Alabama bring more eyeballs to the TV sets? Sure. Does the human element enter into the psyche in that 13-member committee as far as Alabama being a proven commodity over TCU? Sure it does. But if fairness wins out, in the end, you have to, in my opinion, you probably have to put TCU in over Alabama just based on some of the wins they've got this year. They both beat Texas in Austin, and TCU beat them by more. So it looks like to me that TCU is in this thing. Alabama, yes, they still got an outside shot, but they're definitely going to need USC to lose in order to get in the playoffs. Now, the bad, LSU on the cusp, once again, of being the first 2-loss team to make the playoff. Now, they were the last 2-loss team to win the national championship. So, this is bringing back memories of Les Miles' little 1-year hit wonder that he had. And what does Brian Kelly do with that nice little win he had over Alabama Nick Saban for the first time? He shits the bed with it. He goes down to Texas A&M and loses to a team that's been in shambles, a team that everybody else has been able to beat just about. Even Appalachian State went down there and won. But yet, LSU and Brian Kelly, with a college football playoff berth on the line, shit the bed. Now, also, on the good, back with TCU, Max Duggan. TCU, if they went out, of course they're in. Okay? Well, the big conversation for me here right now is, does Max Duggan deserve to be mentioned as a Heisman Trophy candidate? Now, he's got decent numbers. He's got over 3,000 yards passing. I'm sure Caleb Williams, I ain't got his stats in front of me because I don't keep up with his skill shitting ass. But I'm sure Caleb Williams has more stats, better stats than Max Duggan, more than likely. But this is an award that's supposed to be about, and I know most of the time it's not, but it's supposed to be about the most valuable player to a team. And if you take Max Duggan off of TCU, I don't think TCU's undefeated. Now, the same thing can be said about USC. You take Caleb Williams off USC, does USC lose 2 or 3 more games? More than likely, yes. So it's really coming down. I think it's going to end up being Caleb Williams because of the stats. But if it's going based on a guy that has done more with less, it's got to be Max Duggan. Max Duggan has done more with less. And to me, that should sometimes trump stats. So if I'm a Heisman voter, if I ever get a Heisman vote, if they were to send me one today, I would probably vote for Max Duggan, just based on the feeling of how he is, to me, done much more with much less. Also, back to the bad. My coach, Nick Saban, and I'm getting about tired of the hypocrisy and talking out of both sides of his mouth. Yes, he is right now considered the best coach of all time. He's won a lot of national championships. He won 7 national championships. But that still does not make him a god, and it still doesn't make him allow him to be a hypocrite. And what I mean by that is, in his presser, they was asking him about how this team felt about how they finished and whatnot at 10-2, and he's like, man, I'm real proud of them. They won 10 games in a season for the 15th straight year, which I think broke Florida State's record. It was set by Bobby Bowden. And then he said it. The naysayers motivated this team. The naysayers, blah, 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 blah. We have the greatest fans in the world now, and I appreciate them, but the naysayers. So what he's doing there, class, is he's doing a little double talk, because he don't want to piss off the fans, but at the same time, he wants to take a shot at them. But he don't want it to be too obvious. So he just singles out a small contingent of people, of imaginary people. I don't know. It might be like this damn Smurf over here. They may not even exist. Of naysayers. Those little naysaying Smurfs out there motivated this team to win 2 games. But wait a minute now, Nick. Ain't you the one that's always told us that we don't listen to none of that outside noise? We get that outside noise, that rat poison. We blah, 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 rat poison, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes on to say, oh, yeah, these naysayers, they expect us to play at a certain level all the time. They expect us to win all these games and win all these championships every single year. But you're the one that told us to expect that, Nick. You're the one that said we expect to win every single game. We expect to play every opponent the same. If we're playing the Citadel or we're playing Auburn, we expect to win and play the same all the time. And then he'll bitch about the fans leaving early, when half the time he'll try to run the ball. Yeah, we scored late on Auburn, but they was running the ball. He wasn't passing the ball. He wanted us to stay and be a fan for 60 minutes. And he wants his players to play for 60 minutes. But he don't want to coach for 60 minutes. If he wants to stay the last 4 minutes of the game, then entertain us. We paid money for that ticket that pays your $11 million salary, then, keep on scoring, man. I'm not asking you to be like Josh Heupel and throw a damn Hail Mary bomb at the end of the game like they did on Missouri with about a minute left. But if there's still anywhere from 4 to 8 minutes left to go in the game, man, I don't give a shit if you're up by 50. You still need to be trying to score. Now, when you get down close to a minute and a half left in the game, yeah, let's kneel on the ball. But don't expect us to sit in the stands for the last 8 minutes of the game in freezing ass rain or something. That's what I'm talking about with Nick. Nick's a great coach and everything. No, but all these people that saying that, oh, when Alabama loses Nick Saban, they're gonna disappear. All their fans are gonna disappear. Alabama's been winning national championships a lot longer than Nick Saban's been alive. I promise you. They've been winning national championships since 1925 under every imaginable format possible. And for those people that come back and will say, oh, well, Alabama's national championships back then don't count. Well, I guess in USC's and Notre Dame's and Ohio State's and Michigan's, none of their national championships count then. If ours don't count, right? But Nick just needs to quit talking out of both sides of his mouth. And you're going to blame it on the naysayers, trying to say that they tried to take the team down, but yet you say you don't listen to that stuff, right? That's what I'm saying, man. Just double talk. I think he's slipping a little bit, to be honest with you. You know, people don't want to hear that shit. They're like, how dare you question him? He's a national championship coach. Yeah, that's all he is. He's just a great football coach. He's not a god. He's just a great football coach. And he makes mistakes. And he does stuff that's not so up and up sometimes. So, yeah. Now, the coaching carousel. Matt Rule has taken the job at Nebraska, so we don't have to worry about that carousel anymore. That carousel stopped. At first, Matt Rule didn't want the job, but then Nebraska, I guess, threw the Brinks truck at him. Maybe they got Warren Buffett to come in there and sweeten the deal a little bit. I don't know, but all of a sudden, Matt Rule changed his mind. So, Nebraska got their man. Now, that's a pretty good get by Nebraska. I bet a lot of people were saying that Nebraska was shooting too high and that Nebraska needed to settle. I remember that same chatter and talk the last time Alabama hired a coach. You know, they were saying the same shit when we got rid of Mike Shula. Or when we was thinking about getting rid of Mike Shula, they was like, well, who you going to get that's better? Y'all think y'all still win national championships. Y'all are unrealistic. Although it only been 17 years. 17 years like a drop in the bucket. You know, considering college football has been around 130 years. Also, David Shaw stepped down at Stanford. That was a surprise to me. I've been hearing rumbles about that, but he stepped down after 12 seasons at Stanford. And early candidates that have been mentioned for that job are Chris Peterson, the retired coach that used to be the head coach at Washington. You know, he said he retired because he was just burnt out and because he just wanted to get away from coaching for a little bit. But rumor has it he may have the itch to get back in it, and Stanford might be a good landing spot for Chris Peterson if he wants to come back. Also, being mentioned for that job, Bill O'Brien of Alabama. Nick Rolovich. He is the former coach at Washington State that got dismissed because he refused to take the COVID-19 shot. Him and 4 of his coaches got dismissed. He's now in the middle of a $25 million lawsuit. I hope he wins that shit, because you shouldn't be allowed to tell people to put what to put in their bodies. You shouldn't be allowed to tell people what to do with their bodies. You just shouldn't. Auburn, they say Auburn's flying Hugh Freeze in today. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I've been hearing that Hugh Freeze is the guy now, since Lane Kiffin supposedly signed a new contract with Ole Miss, that now they're focused on Hugh Freeze. But if they don't get Hugh Freeze, for some reason, I've heard the names of Jeff Grimes, who is the offensive coordinator at Baylor, keeps popping up for whatever reason. I mean, he's decent and whatnot. Also, Bill O'Brien's name once again, and they're also still considering Carnell Williams. And I will say that his press conference, it was a pretty good press conference. You could tell the guy was a little shaken up and a little emotional, and you can tell he's really attached to Auburn in the program. So maybe they'll keep him on staff down there at Auburn. I don't know. Also, Deion Sanders is being mentioned at Colorado and South Florida. Rumor has it today that Colorado actually offered him the head coaching job, and now it's up to Deion as whether to decide whether he wants to stay at Jackson State and continue the facade that he's been throwing out there, that he's doing it for the HBCUs, and that's the only reason he's doing it, because I got money. Okay, well, if you're just doing it for the HBCUs, then why are you already considering another job after just 2 short years, Deion? It's just like I said, man. You're a con man. And I don't care how many games you win. It's like people say, well, if he wins games and blah, 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 that'll shut JPC up. No, it won't. That's what y'all don't get, man. It ain't about how many games you win with me. If you're a shitty person, you're a shitty person. And to me, Deion, he's a con man. He conned those players into coming to Jackson State, knowing good and well that if they went to Ohio State, USC, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, somewhere like that, that they'd have a better chance at getting developed properly and going to the NFL. Now, I know y'all going to come back with, well, there's been players like Jerry Rice that's made it from an HBCU school and FCS level. There's been plenty of players from the FCS level that's made it. Yeah, there have been some that's made it. But on average, let's be honest with each other. On average, players that go and play Division I ball at an Ohio State or Texas or somewhere like that, on average, put against the HBCUs and FCS, those two teams by themselves probably put more talent in the NFL, especially Ohio State, not so much Texas. But teams like Ohio State and Alabama, LSU, teams like that, just 2 or 3 teams like that put more talent in the NFL than the whole FCS. So for Deion to tell them to come there as opposed to going somewhere where they've been offered. Now, if they haven't been offered a scholarship at one of these big programs, that's fine. But you're being dishonest with these guys by telling them if they come to Jackson State, they still got as good a chance to go to the NFL as if they went to an Ohio State. And that's just a lie. Come on now. Y'all don't be trying to play the race card either in this bullshit, because it ain't got nothing to do with race. It's got to do with the person. And that person, Deion Sanders, he's a con man. All right. Before I get off here, I would like to address this as far as the West Virginia people go. Are they going to fire Neil Brown? I haven't heard anything. They may have fired him in the last couple hours and I didn't know about it. But is West Virginia going to fire Neil Brown? That's another question. Neil Brown, if he's fired, the same names are coming up. Jeff Grimes. Garrett Riley has been mentioned, the offensive coordinator, the brother of Lincoln Riley is being bandied about as a possible candidate if West Virginia were to get rid of Neil Brown. Rich Rodriguez, the return of Rich Rod, people sneered at that, but the guy almost got him to the national championship game. Had he not lost to Pittsburgh, he would have played for the national championship game. And the last one, Paul Christ, and I know my buddy Cuz don't like that name for whatever reason, but Paul Christ had an exceptional record at Wisconsin. The only reason he's not still there is 2 words: Barry Alvarez. Barry Alvarez did it to Brett Bielema, and look at how much success Brett Bielema's having at Illinois already. So I think Paul Christ, in my opinion, would be the guy to go to. And last thing before I get off here, 12-team playoff and expansion. It's been talked about again. Now, to me, if they're going to do it, they need to get it done. But the thing is, the one holdup, as it always is the Rose Bowl. Now, if the Rose Bowl is going to continue to be a problem and be a cancer in us trying to expand this thing and to get more teams in the mix, then the Rose Bowl just needs to be X'd out. They just need to push the Rose Bowl out together. Plus, that stadium it used to be an iconic stadium, but now it's just a rundown old building that needs a lot of work. It's not they don't have as much suave as they think they do. And I think they need to put their foot down with the Rose Bowl and tell them to kick rocks or either get on board. Because the 12-team playoff, if it's going to happen, I don't care either way, to be honest with you. You can stay at 4, go to 8, or go to 12. But one thing I do care about in all this is don't go past 12. Once you go past 12, that's way too many, man. Even the NFL has stopped at 12. So college football, if you expand, just go to 12. You guys and gals tell me what you think about all this stuff. Drop it in the comment section. If you don't mind, also, there is a little heart option down here. If you don't mind, hit that for me real quick. Throw a few dollars in the coffers. Get me off the YouTube teat. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.